want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome. Holy welcome. Holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome. Holy welcome. You are welcome here. There's something in the air, the dream of life in love, with minds that rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time has somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the farce revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. This is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, from close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic happens, healing all the hearts, ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever, the secret is whenever, the secret is together we are.
Good morning out there in Center for Spiritual Living St. George Land. Whether you're joining us this morning or you join us later on in the day or tomorrow or whenever, we're so happy that you brought your glorious self here. We would like you to know that we are an open, loving, and inclusive community that supports thinking creatively and living a deeply spiritual life. Our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. It's a big mission and we're up for it. I'm glad you're here to join us. So here is our Sunday service team. Chris McCardle is behind the scenes as our technician. I'm Marina Anderson, and I'm your host for the day. Shay Barlow will provide some beautiful music for us. Anita Sheff, one of our practitioners, will do the invocation. Sue Fulmer will have a special reading for us. And of course, our senior minister, Reverend Joe Kovach, will give us our message today about everyone else is already taken as we cultivate authenticity in the month of March. So let's bring Shay up. Hello, Shay.
Good morning, Marina.
I look forward to your beautiful music today.
Thank you so much. So we are going to start with just anchoring ourselves in gratitude. This is a beautiful song by Lisa Ferraro and Erica Lickett, Grateful. So I'm going to go through it, and then Anita will pop up and pray us in beautifully, as she always does. And then when we come back, the lyrics will be on screen, and you can join in. Because the ground holds up my feet, because the stars shine down on me, for all of this and so much more, I am grateful, because there's air for me to breathe. I give my thanks for every tree, for all of this and so much more. I am grateful, grateful, grateful. I'm grateful.
And so gratefully, I invite you to join me in this prayer, and I invite you to make these words your own. There is only one life. I know that life has God, Spirit, Divine, so many other names. And that life is the mind of the universe. It is the intelligence of the universe. It is love. It is the one presence, the one power, and the energy that exists in and through everything that has ever been created. And so I know that this life is my life and the life of each person listening to this broadcast. And so today, as we delve into this topic of authenticity, we open up the conversation for this coming month. I know that each one of us will discover a greater gift, a greater value of authenticity, and how to reveal that in our own lives. And in doing so, we are revealing the very presence of the divine. For each one of us is a unique and irreplaceable way that the divine shows up. And so it is with gratitude that we enter this conversation today. And my intention is to make a safe place in my mind and my heart for each other person to show up as their authentic self. For that is the blessing of God showing up in infinite ways. And so I'm grateful for this truth. I'm grateful for this service and everyone who participates in it. And so I let it be perfect. And so it is.
So it is. Because the ground holds up my feet, because the stars shine down on me, for all of this and so much more, I am grateful, because there's air for me to breathe. I give my thanks to every tree for all of this and so much more. I am grateful, grateful, I'm grateful, because I felt right from the start the steady beat my faithful heart, for all of this and so much more. I am grateful, because I think, because I feel, because there's mystery to reveal, for all of this and so much more. I am grateful, 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 I'm grateful. One more time, grateful, 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 I'm grateful. And now we'd like to welcome Sue Fulmer to the service. Good morning, Sue. Sue's going to share our sacred reading.
Thank you. I am grateful. One thing I'm grateful for is the Science of Mind magazine. Oh, if you don't have it, it's such a little jewel to add to your spiritual practice. And I'm reading a short article by Jennifer Pickenick from the February issue. On the journey of self-actualization, we begin to realize how we are not the problems we encounter. With a careful, directive mind, we can recognize we have the power and to rise above all perceived challenges experienced by way of thought. We are the observer in the thought stream, and it is our job to purify each and every thought we allow to pass through us. We can envision a filter in our mind, placed there to protect us against any limited beliefs we hold, and cleanse them until they are only able to produce our wildest dreams. The foundation of our every belief should be so pure that love has no choice but to stem from it. Imagine what life could feel like if we joined or learned to pursue peace so easily in our thinking that inner peace becomes an automatic part of us. For each cause, there is an effect, and I cannot think of a more beautiful result. What if we never lose sight of the truth of who we really are? What if we learn to recognize our own thought patterns and how negative thoughts are simply just well-rehearsed ideas? When I feel broken, I remind myself that resilience is my ally. When my heart aches through loss, I remind myself to be grateful for what I have. When frustration enters me, I inhale love until the anger dissipates and only calmness remains. When I feel scared, I remember who I really am and how spirit and fear do not reside together. When I feel anxious, I recall the skills I've learned that can send calming signals back to my brain. When I worry, don't worry. I remind myself of the many lies my brain has paid attention to in the past, worries that never came to be. I am choosing which thoughts I invite to each seemingly negative experience because I intend to honor the truth that resides deep within me, deep within all of us. I can spend my moments in fear and turmoil or use my thoughts to work for me, allowing myself to rest in a state of love, always. And so it is. Thank you.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Sue. So as Marina mentioned, we are in a brand new month. Welcome to the month of March. We are living out loud this year, and this month we are cultivating authenticity. The talk title today is Everyone Else is Already Taken. Writer Anna Eastman wrote one of my favorite quotes, which reads, "And the day came when the risk to remain tied in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." And Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us, no matter what your work, let it be your own. No matter what your occupation, let what you are doing be organic. Let it be in your bones. In this way, you will open the door by which the affluence of heaven and earth shall stream into you. Indeed, we are blessed and inspired when we are walking in our authenticity. And this song is a reminder that that choice is up to us. This is Author and Hero. A new year is just a moment in time. The date can only recommend it, 'cause change will turn itself on a dime when we decide how to send it. So choose your own adventure, turn the page or tear one out. Rewrite entire chapters, keep the hope, erase the doubt. 'Cause you are both the author and the hero. Your story is about the real you will be your gift to the earth. No one can do you like you can. Magic lives there in your divine worth, just waiting for your command. As you choose your own adventure, turn the page or tear one out. Rewrite entire chapters, keep the hope, erase the doubt. 'Cause you are both the author and the hero. Your story is about gonna be more like me, gonna set more joy free, gonna live, gonna love, gonna thank stars above that I can. Choose my own adventure, turn the page or tear one out. Rewrite entire chapters, keep the hope, erase the doubt. 'Cause I am both the author and the hero. My story is about. Okay, Marina, back to you. Marina Anderson. There she is.
There I am. Thank you, Shay. I love that song. It's such a perfect lead into Reverend Joe's talk today, I think.
Yay.
We
Sounds
are
good.
the hero and the author. I love it. I love it. As Shay mentioned, cultivating authenticity is our theme for March. Today's talk is everyone else's already taken, and the music, as I said, was the perfect lead into this. I just such a great job, Shay. I appreciate it. Hey, good morning, Reverend
Good
Joe.
morning. How are you?
I'm great. I am great. All right, take it away, kind sir.
Yes, thank you. That was a wonderful song, wasn't it? Thank you, Shay. She's so talented and has that mind that's aligned with knowing truth, and she's not afraid to live out loud and sing it out loud. So thank you, Shay, for that beautiful music. Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living, St. George. It's March 5th already, and I got to tell you, working in schools as I do, usually this time of year starts to drag, and it, for me personally, it's not. It's flying, and I hope you're enjoying it. And we're going to talk about authenticity today, cultivating authenticity, and what that means, and living a life that's unique. Because as the talk says, everybody else is taken. So let's take a look at what it means to live our own life. Cultivating authenticity, cultivating, right? We're creating, and we are naturally creators. That's what we know. And we create, we co-create technically. We recognize that infinite power that is of this one life that we can call God or spirit or source or fill in the blank for yourself, but we know it is all there is. And basically, when we're authentic, we're coming from that place, that unique place for each one of us. And it is different for everybody. So I want to start off by recognizing that we're not all trying to be the same, as in exactly the same. Now, coming from a place of love is, in a sense, the same, but we're still going to do that uniquely through who we are. And we're going to dive into this deeper, but this whole month, well, the whole year, we're talking about living out loud. And to me, that just yells being authentic. And this month, cultivating authenticity, we're going to look at different levels of what that means. So what is it? I'm going to share first a definition by Brene Brown, and she says authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Right? So be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. We've heard that for a while. Maybe something similar like, don't be a copy, be the original. And we kind of hear that and we go, oh yeah, that's who I am, or that's who I'm striving to be. But if we're not there, and how do we even know if we're there? And what does that there look like? There's a lot of questions along the way, and that's what we're going to discuss today. And I'm going to share some information with you that I hope helps. And as always, is whatever I share, take with you what kind of, I like using the word jives with you, aligns with you. And whatever doesn't, you're kind of not ready to hear yet, or it's just not your truth. That's perfect. Toss it away and something else will fill its place. So we want to start where I suggest always to start, which is grounding in our truth. And so as we're talking about being our authentic self, let's remember that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Okay, so we can know about this whole perfect and complete us, and that doesn't always show through in the direct moment. In other words, sometimes we don't show up as our best self, but that's all part of the process. And in our oneness with this one infinite reality, again, call it God or spirit or source, okay, we are spiritual beings first. And this self that we are with a capital S, I'm trying to, let's see, how would I draw that for you backwards, like that? Ernest Holmes says about that self that it's as eternal as God, as indestructible as reality, and as changeless as truth. So when he talks about this perfect us, this spiritual part, who is the animation of life behind, the animating force behind our life, that it's, in essence, again, perfect, whole, complete. It's the divine self that's back of all that we do and all that we believe. And in our teaching, we believe that each one of us is a unique expression of this divine power and life. And what stands between us and our authentic expression of who we truly are is basically a collection of thoughts, of beliefs, patterns of behaviors, attitudes, if you will, that we pick up along the way through just living life naturally. And we pick these up from our parents, from teachers, from friends, from relatives. And I'm not going to look, we got to make sure that we're not coming from a place of victimhood. We're not blaming them for that. This is part of life. This is part of discovering who we are. If we go back to this idea of being in the womb, right? We come out and we're kind of a blank slate. And, we may be in that moment in a state of pure survival, right? Of relying on others. And so I'm hungry and I need some food. So I'm going to cry every time I get some food and I get rewarded. And I start learning through that process. This is the human experience that we're going through. So we're not blaming those that we picked up these good or bad habits or beliefs or whatever, because if you're watching right now, okay, you have the ability to choose. If you weren't sure of that before, I'm telling you now, no matter what way you're living your life, you have the power of choice, which is everything. And we're going to talk about that a little more. But discovering, or maybe really rediscovering our authentic true self happens through this exploring of our own inner life, by comparing and practicing compassion while we're taking a look at that. And that's probably one of the hurdles that most people use to avoid going deeper in their life, is that it can be maybe scary. Or we're so good at beating ourselves up, because unfortunately we see that a lot. We learn that a lot from others, that we're not allowed to make mistakes and we're wrong and we should feel guilty about those, that it just hinders us taking a look and releasing and coming from this inner place of authenticity. And so we show up in ways that make people happy and won't offend people. And, on the outside, I think I'm really making everybody happy. I'm not, because we can't please everybody. I may please this group by saying A, and over here, this group says A is horrible, say B. So then I go B, but then when I'm with them, it's A. And in this process, our authentic self gets muddied up, gets covered up in other people's ways of doing things, other people's truths. And maybe along the way, your truth does match somebody else's, but we're not going to know until we come from we start this journey, honestly, this inner journey of who am I really? Who am I choosing to be? So again, going back to this moment that we were born, everything is foreign to us. Everything is new. And so we did what we had to do, right? And that, again, that's natural. I liken it to, if all of a sudden you drop me in another country that doesn't speak English, I'm going to do my best in the little moment to please people, to help me. And I'm going to show up with my happy self and try, in my best manners. But kind of just like in new relationships, whether friendships or more intimate relationships, after there's that what we call the honeymoon period, where we begin to relax into our real selves, and the masks that we kind of present at first, we release those. Now, when we talk about authentic self, I'm not talking about the worst parts of ourselves. No. We're talking about the best parts of ourselves, and allowing ourselves to look at who we're being in this moment. Because we were told from the very beginning what's true: be like this, act this way, wear this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. And the wonderful author Don Miguel Ruiz, he calls this process domestication. So we get domesticated, just like an animal. We kind of take them out of the wild, so to speak, dogs and cats and those. But even, I know the stories that we've heard of bears and wolves, and they come in and they kind of, in a sense, untrain the full wildness, their natural authenticity, and domesticate them so that they're a little more friendly to be with us. So Don Miguel Ruiz calls our process domestication, and our authentic needs and wants along the way, they become less, and they're less important than how we needed to be so to want to be fitting in. So let me say that out because that didn't come out well. In other words, as we become domesticated, we lose our true self, and pleasing others becomes more important than maybe speaking our mind or doing it our way, in a sense. For me, being a school counselor, this just screams middle school age for me. And I've counseled at that level for well over a decade. And as someone who's beyond that, and sometimes it's really hard to watch someone in the process of just trying to figure out who they are, because it's that shift between elementary school, being a child, and high school, kind of more being an adult. You're in that stage of becoming, and it's we lose our way almost daily during that process. And I watch students that age try to please everyone and fail horribly. And even if sometimes it's just trying to please two different people that, just so they can get along and hang out. It's a process. And I talk about it as children, but many of us are still behaving that way, which is why we find sometimes life being so challenging. Right? We don't want to offend people. We don't want to feel like an outcast. And so we act a particular way that in the moment may please ourselves, make us feel comfortable, maybe a little safe. But when we go home at night and we lay our head on the pillow, those thoughts come back to us. Am I being well? And then we start making excuses, right? And any excuse will work. Well, it was just a little lie when I told so and so that I agreed with them, or if I really told them the truth, they may hate me, so I don't want that either. And so this process of domestication, it's not wrong in a sense, but it is, and if we look at it as part of our becoming. In the ancient Greek times, there was a phrase that came out of there called, it says, "Know thyself." And looking into it more, this phrase was according to, there was a Greek writer, I probably say his name wrong, but let me see if I read it. Pausanias. Anyway, he wrote about this, and there were three. It was in Delphi. There's a temple in Delphi, and there were three maxims inscribed over the forecourt of this temple. It was the temple of Apollo. And so there were three. The first one was know thyself. The second one was nothing to excess. So in other words, don't have too much. And the third one was certainty brings ruin. Now that one hit me for a minute, and I was like, what does that mean when I'm certain? Why is that bad? And I believe philosophically coming from the place of not being open-minded. And so to come from our authentic self, we must come from a place of, yeah, we know who we are. We know thyself as a spiritual being, perfect, whole, and complete. Okay, then I'm not going to do anything too much. I'm going to allow this process to unfold, to discover the truer parts of who I am and live from that place and have an open mind during this process. And so there's many ways to do this. We can begin simply by self-inquiry, asking ourselves questions, maybe journaling, maybe some life coaching or therapy. And of course, there's spiritual practices like meditation and visioning that we can begin this journey on, this creative endeavor that, who am I really? Is this what I really think and feel, or do I do this because that's what I've always done? And where did I learn that anyway? And when I learned that, maybe it was helpful then, is it helpful now? Am I being authentic to who I am now? Very interesting. And it's how do we find ourselves? It can be a lot of work, or you can do as a Buddhist monk did, humor coming on the way. He simply put a newspaper ad out that said, "Tall, dark, handsome Buddhist looking for himself." Let it sit. Little humor there. So there's a lot to talk about this, and we're going to just this week begin on cultivating it. So going back to Brene Brown, she says authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. What's the key word in that? Choice, 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 choice. We overlook, we talked last month about superpowers of curiosity. I think superpower of choice is just as important. Do we realize we're making the choice? Or are we living from a state of victimhood and saying, well, I can't because blah, 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 blah. And of course, if I feel that I can't make a choice because of something or someone or circumstance outside of myself, then I feel disempowered. And when I feel disempowered, I, in a sense, disconnect from my true self, because my true self is empowered. It knows it's perfect. It knows it's infinite, has infinite access to this one mind, this one life that is living. Right? And so it's like we go from ego, which is kind of a small self, which is okay. It's part of the journey, and we're not trying to damn or burn or exercise the ego. But it's a state of who we are, and how can we look at that and from that glean who we are authentically. So living authentically means we have to live with, to me, a passionate awareness of not just what our choices are, but the reasoning behind our choices. And even if you're a 12-year-old, say, you can understand this. Why do I make the choices I make? And at some point, I would say first, we don't have to do this alone. And secondly, it does take some courage to go, why am I doing this? And is this who I want to be? People tell me this is the right way to do things. And we see this and know this, and yet we also honor all those people that kind of did it their way, right? They knew themselves. Okay, know thyself. They knew who they were. And I'm sure for some time they allowed domestication to run their life, and then decided with a lot of courage that just wasn't working for them. And they chose to live authentically. And so I kind of mentioned a couple times that it could be scary to start off on this journey. And one of the tools we can use to assist ourselves along that way to make it less scary is to be compassionate with ourselves, to love ourselves through this process. Because it doesn't always feel safe to live authentically, or even to start discovering who and what that is. Our thoughts and feelings may be different from those around us. And so we got to make sure, or we have to make sure, I don't like the way that sounds. It's important to recognize whether the people around us are supporting us for who we are and not supporting us because they wouldn't like the change in us, because it may now be different for them. So if all of a sudden, I'm a real quiet person and reserved, and I've been hiding this funny side of me, and so I'm talking to someone and they're kind of trying to hold me back, because if all of a sudden I'm outgoing, they don't really like that kind of a person. So now what do they do with me? And it could bring some situations like that up. If we're using compassion as these situations come up, and compassion, right, meaning we're looking at the whole situation, recognizing that even though maybe in the moment we don't know the way, we don't know the solution, we know there is one. And again, coming from with an open mind, we're able to align ourselves to that compromise, maybe, and maybe it is a separating of ways, or just an evolution of the current relationship. Going back to ideas of when these things come up, again, I go back to school quite a bit, and maybe it's because my profession, but I also remember from middle school that was tough, and high school, but then I even remember going into college where it's more of an adult atmosphere. And I felt very that didn't feel like it where I belonged. I felt like an outcast. I was like, what am I doing here? I'm kind of here, honestly, because it was a choice of to go to college or get kicked out of the house, and I wasn't ready for the kick out of the house part. And so I was there, but I didn't know what was going on, really. I didn't know who I was, and it was a very scary time for me. And I had to go through a lot of discussions and in a sense, counseling and coaching for myself to find who I was. And even then, those for me, 4.5 years of college, it was, I don't know how much I moved, but I began cultivating. It's like cultivating the soil, right? You begin to add ingredients that help whatever it is you're trying to grow. And so as I added little bits, but I did find myself being safe, feeling domesticated, trying to make people happy. And then maybe in a particular area, I grew. So for example, I was struggling, and then for me, I knew I needed some help to guide myself through, and I joined the football team, which was something I was never able to do during high school. And that helped me discover some parts of myself that I knew were there, but I wasn't using, to be coached, which was a new experience for me. And that allowed for me to voice my authentic self in a different way. Now, for me, that was a part of my life. For you, and this isn't, it could be something different. Let me finish that thought. But I also want to say this is something that's ongoing. So no matter where you are in your life, you could be well past the age of retirement and still really discovering, what's the word, a truer sense of who you are. And again, because we're always changing as everything changes, we're going to discover that authentic self from a number of different angles of looking around it. In his book, This Thing Called You, Holmes says this about starting from our truth. He says, your soul belongs to the universe. Your mind is an outlet through which the creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. Right? So why is this important? Because this is one of the benefits of understanding this is why we're here, is we're coming from this infinite power, from this infinite place of love and compassion. And we get to decide who and what the life we have is and who we are. We are a unique expression of the divine, unlike anything or anyone else. We're our own vibration. So trying to copy another vibration doesn't make sense, right? It's, sing your own song, write your own book, and I loved Shay's song, right? We are both the author and the hero of our own story. And recognizing we're the author, that means that I'm giving myself how I recognize the power to change things in my life. So if the hero, me, is not living the life of love, of their dreams, how do I change that? Through the power of choice. Well, who is that? How do I want to change it? We want to change it from this sense of who I believe I am. Another quote I wanted to share from Howard Thurman. He says, there's something in you that listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is your true guide, and if you cannot hear it, you will spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else is pulling. So in other words, we're puppets. If we don't take accountability and responsibility of our own lives, then using Shay's analogy, then we're allowing someone else to write our story. That's not authentic. Okay? That's pure domestication, allowing someone else doing things because we were told that way. Okay? And that definitely doesn't feel empowering. And what I know for each one listening is we are fully empowered spiritual beings, that we live in a world of infinite possibilities in spite of what has shown up or what hasn't shown up. It is all possible. Eric Butter, a great author in the New Thought movement, he says, when you know yourself as a spiritual being, you experience the fulfillment of the law, which streams into you in substance, supply, and all that's required for success. So what he's saying here is that when we flip the switch and we begin to come from our true self, even though it may not feel natural, that life will show up to support us in every way. That as we change, life will change to support us. And that gives me a sense of comfort. I can feel comfort and use compassion and use those as guides, right? To know, is this the true self? Because we can make a choice and we may think that. And this is where it really kind of, where education helps, because we think like, oh, this is my natural self. And we can only experience things when we're ready to. And so what I know about discovering deeper parts of myself, especially those that I've covered up, it takes a little time. And all of a sudden you have this aha of, oh my gosh, this is why I act this way, or this is why this continues to show up in my life. And in order to do this, my friends, we have to be vulnerable. Right? It's not possible for others to see us, to know us, if who we really are, we're covering up with a mask. They only get to know the false self. And all of a sudden, when we realize, oh my gosh, I've been wearing this mask and saying it's me for so long. Again, I don't care if you're a young child or someone who's lived a lot of life. We have these masks, and it's natural. It's okay. We can admit we have masks, but it is refreshing to choose what mask we're wearing in the beginning, and then eventually take kind of show up without makeup. And so, masks serve their purpose, but it does take us to have a sense of a lot of courage and to be vulnerable, to look at ourselves, because it's scary. We take the risk of people not liking who we really are, and no one wants to feel outcasted or dejected inside, because this is who I am and nobody likes me. And what I can talk about that simply is maybe that particular crowd doesn't like the who you really are because they were in love with the who you weren't. But it's so refreshing, because when you come from who you really are, as Eric Butterworth said, life will show up. That means the perfect people and places and experiences you find yourself in and surrounded by. So another, talking about courage, Brene Brown says, courage is a heart word. The root of the word courage is cor, C-O-R. And this is the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. So when we're coming from the heart, when we're coming from a place of trueness, we're coming from that depth of the indwelling spirit, of the deepest part of ourselves. We're being transparent as to who we are. And courage is what keeps us moving through those times when we feel like we're walking in the valley of the shadow of death. And we're just like, where am I? I feel lost. Well, courage and faith and compassion are, again, tools that we always have access to. So I wanted to share, it's a longer quote. I'm going to put it up. You don't have to just maybe go back and read it, but it kind of helps really summarize what I'm trying to say here with regards to this whole talk today about cultivating authenticity. And it comes from Yuval Harari. And he says, humanism always emphasizes that it is not easy to identify our authentic will. When we try to listen to ourselves, we are often flooded by conflicting noises. Indeed, we sometimes don't really want to hear our authentic voice because it might disclose unwelcome secrets and make uncomfortable requests. Many people take great care not to probe themselves too deeply. A woman trapped in a dissatisfying marriage fears losing the security it provides. A guilt-ridden soldier is stalked by nightmares about atrocities he committed. A young man unsure of his sexuality follows a personal don't ask, don't tell policy. But humanism demands that we show some guts, Listen to the inner messages, even if they scare us. Identify our authentic voice, and then follow its instructions. And so, what I want to say about this is simply that there is that voice, that unique voice that we can choose to listen to. That is there for us, uniquely us. And when we don't follow it or listen to it, in a sense, we're not living our best self. And we get muddied up, and sometimes we lose our way. But back of it all is that still quiet voice that Ernest Holmes talks about. When we choose to get quiet and focus and ask, all right, God, where are you? I'm listening to you. Who am I really? And be patient, because we may not be answered in the way we think, meaning we may not hear something, but we may be put in an experience or a circumstance that allows us to discover the answer that's already there. And so, yes, it can be scary, but what I do know is that which we call God, Spirit, walks hand in hand with us, because it's not God and us. It's oneness, it's wholeness. So we're not separate from it. We're just discovering that unique God aspect of God that we are in our own way. And that is the human journey, what Yuval calls the humanism. Now, another powerful author that I love to quote is Joseph Campbell, and particularly in his book, The Power of Myth. If you haven't read it, it's wonderful. It's deep. It's not a children's book, but highly suggested. But he says, I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonance within our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. So, a lot of words we share today, particularly the word authenticity, being authentic. And what does that mean? I think when we're living our best self, we feel life flowing, coursing through our veins. We feel aligned. We feel on top of the world. That's when we know that that's part of our authentic self. And when we're not feeling that, and it doesn't mean the top level all the time, but when we're not feeling inspired and we're not feeling in the flow, that maybe we should just simply take a look at that. And maybe I'm kind of in a current, right? That's just kind of meandering along because I haven't made a choice as to where I want it to go. And that is the choice that we have to courageously step up and make for ourselves. By doing this, as Carl Jung, the psychologist or psychiatrist says, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And so by living the life, doing things and being with people that make us feel alive is being authentic. Pay attention to that. What is the feeling behind that when you're with someone that makes you feel alive, that appreciates you? Not just because, I gotta go a little deeper here, not just because they make me feel good, but what about that makes you feel good? Maybe it's also that you feel good because they're sharing and you're reacting to them and you know that that makes them feel good. See, this can go deep, and that's good, because if life was only like a surface level deep, that would be kind of boring. But we get to explore the depths of our life through living, and it's worth living. So be courageously you, be unapologetically you. Why? Because as the talk title says, because everybody else is already taken. So let's complete this talk today with our affirmation, which I'm going to ask you to take a breath and say authentically, without any wanting to please anybody. We're not wanting to force this, because when we come from this perfect place of beingness, I can simply say, I courageously choose to know and be my authentic self. And so as we close this with prayer, and by prayer, when we do this, I invite you to listen and to allow my words to be your words, and take and choose what you allow to be part of your authentic self. But what I know, and I know always, is that life, this one supreme power and principle that operates in and through and as all life is what we truly are expressing. And we're simply, it's like a ball that we're walking around constantly looking at the different angles of what is this? How does this show up in my life? And I just marvel at what I find, at who I am. And as I go deeper within myself, and I find some things that from this perspective makes me cringe a little bit, I do that with compassion because I know who I was, or even maybe who I discover I am now. Okay, it means I was doing the best I can with what I have and where I'm at, and that's not a wrong thing. And what allows me to evolve is this infinite power of choosing something different. And I choose this from a place of loving myself. I choose this from a place of loving the world. I choose this place from of empowerment to give myself the permission to change as I allow others to change and be their authentic self. I'm excited to discover more and more about who I really am. And I could do this by being quiet in a meditative place or going through for a quiet walk and listening and being and holding this question in my mind. Who am I really? Who is my authentic self? And on this walk, in this quiet time, recognizing what I experience. And I trust that that which I call God and Source, who is a part of me and I am it, will reveal the right perfect part at the right perfect time. And I can begin to comfortably be me, be that godly self that only I can be. I recognize the love that is in each moment, the joy that is in each moment. And I choose that here and now for myself and for everyone that I interact with. And as the senior minister of Centers for Spiritual Living, St. George, I choose that for the community of our congregation and the community at large of St. George, of Washington County. I choose this for the world, that everyone comes from a place of true authenticity in their own unique way. What a perfect, perfect way for life to unfold. And so it is. And thank you for allowing me to share that.
That was fabulous. Lots of great reminders. The line that I loved the most, it was a different way to kind of hear about that self-witnessing thing, that there's someone inside of you listening for the sound of the genuine you.
Yeah.
Which I love that quote. It was just like really spoke to me. And as someone who's been on the planet, well, a bunch of decades, nearing the end of my 7th decade in this body, I have to say that when I have the courage to show up and be honest and be seen, it is a powerful experience, not only to be witnessed by other people, but to witness myself
Right.
being genuine and authentic. So thank
And
you.
it's healing when we do that, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah. Where do I go from here? This brought me to this place, but where do I go from here? What do I do with that? So
And we don't have to do it alone, right?
we don't have to do it alone, for
We
sure.
have practitioners that can help.
Yes, absolutely. And a minister who can help.
Yeah.
Hey,
Happy to do so.
Go figure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Joe. That was fabulous. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I did. So now we're on to a few announcements. As you know, we have a community care circle, and the number will be on your screen shortly, and it's always in your newsletter for sure. If you need some support or know somebody that needs some support, we have folks who would love to do that. And I definitely want to give a heartfelt plug, if you will, for prayer requests at prayer@cslstgeorge.org. I know that the practitioners are working at making it easier and more understandable about how the process works. But my personal experience with having prayer treatment and with a practitioner is quite profound, because you have the opportunity to really express your needs and seek support. And just saying, I need some support is a prayer, starts the prayer in and of itself. And I will tell you that I have had sessions with a few of our practitioners, and it is a powerful experience to be seen with so much clarity and have that support my own process. So I encourage everyone to contact our prayer request line or one of our individual practitioners. You will not be sorry. It's a fabulous experience. Okay, on to other things. Zoom conversation starts at noon. Everything, all of this information is in your newsletter and on the website, and on Facebook. We hope that you'll come have a conversation with us on Zoom. It proves to be a rousing follow-up to today's talk. Book club happens every Thursday. Contact Sue if you haven't all joined us already. We have about 3 weeks left with this book, and then we'll take a little hiatus and start a new book in a month or so. And we're still looking at filling a position on the core council. Lots of conversation happening about that. More to come. And our next social gathering is March 11th. The address is in the newsletter. And the first couple hours, 10 to noon, is going to be just the regular old social gathering with some snacks that the center will provide. And then from noon till 2, those who would like to stay and join us, we're going to watch some of the talks from the CSL conference that occurred last week. So we hope that you'll join us for one part or both parts of that. And as usual, we always encourage you to support this beautiful community that we have as we move into new chapters of discovering our purpose, finding a way to be in person again. There's just so much going on behind the scenes and in front. So we hope that you'll support us in that through Zelle, PayPal, or through snail mail. Again, all of that information is easily accessible on all of our resources. In the next 2 Sundays, Reverend Joe's back next week with dropping the masks and the bushels. He gave us a little teaser about that today, and I'm sure it will lead into much more discussion about that. And then on the 19th, Jafon Seeley is back talking about boundaries as bridges. So, all right. Chris is going to bring us all back in so that we hope you will join us in saying our closing affirmation. We can hear you at home. All right, 2. If somebody's missing, there we go. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is happening in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it. I embrace it and I share it.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming.
Thank
you, life.
Yay.
Thank you for being here, everybody. We had 1 or 2 new people and some folks who are watching us from somewhere else who have previously been a part of our in-person.
Thank you.
So thanks for being here, everybody. Love you
Maybe
all.
we'll see. I got to do a call out too because it worked last time. I want to see new faces at our gathering next Saturday.
Yes.
Because we
And in
are
our
doing
Zoom
the
meeting.
work, and we may have something pretty incredible to share that, if you don't show up, you might have to wait a little longer to hear about.
And our joy singers are going to sing. All of
That's
us
right.
are there and we're going to sing. So, yay.
That's right.
All
Okay.
right, everybody.
Bye,
See you on
everybody.
Zoom.
Bye, everybody.
Zoom.